Just yesterday, we were talking about the viewership for Ahsoka on Disney Plus. The first episode only drew 1.2 million households, according to Samba TV, who is an independent company that basically tracks all this information and then kind of gives it out. Samba TV have their own way of calculating this, and I believe they have direct access to viewing information that's like 10 times bigger than the Nielsen ratings company ever did when they come up with these streaming numbers. And it turns out Disney says they're liars. It wasn't 1.2 million households, it was 14 million households. Oh my goodness, talk about being off with your numbers. That's like 11.5 times bigger, or maybe even bigger than that, of what they're actually posting. And obviously there's an enormous discrepancy there. And this is bad timing for Disney because basically everybody, including yours truly right here, right now, thinks they are absolutely full of crapola. There's a lawsuit against Disney stating that they're lying to their investors about their streaming number. And if Disney would lie to their investors, if you believe this lawsuit, and the investors are the actual people that like own the company, or at least pieces of the company, what do you think they would do with streaming numbers for you and I and all the other Joe Schmuckatellis out there that don't actually own a single damn thing of the company? You think they wouldn't lie to us? You think they wouldn't expand the number 11.5 times the actual amount of it? Like, that is an enormous discrepancy. 1.2 billion versus 14 million. Now, the lawsuit's actually about something different, but I thought it was interesting that Disney are out there basically lying, or basically everybody believes that they're lying, just as this lawsuit drops. And I do want to give a tip of the cap to Giant Freaking Robot for covering this. That's where I got the source for this information and all the details about this lawsuit against Disney saying they're lying. Disney is facing a lawsuit from investors claiming the company used deceptive accounting methods to hide streaming losses. The lawsuit alleges that Disney was in breach of its fiduciary duties by issuing false and misleading statements and or omitting material information to the company's public filings and proxy statements related to streaming from December 10th, 2020 to the present day. The plaintiff claims Disney and its top executives covered up the true financial state of affairs of its streaming service, saying that Disney intentionally devised a deceitful plan aimed at concealing the true extent of losses incurred by its streaming service to create a misleading impression of steady subscriber growth as well as attainable 2024 goals. This assertion mirrors claims made in another recent lawsuit against Disney themselves. And that's pretty interesting because if you think about the state of Disney Plus streaming numbers, we know that they are losing money. Apparently they're losing a lot more money. Like, they're doing funny accounting, that Hollywood accounting where they start moving things around. They play a little shell game so they can make things work out in their favor. And in this case, mislead the actual investors in the company to thinking that they're not performing quite as badly as they might have. Turns out they're probably performing much worse than we could have expected. And I do think the dates are very interesting. Obviously, December 2020 would have been the Bob Chapek era, but today in the present, it's the Bob Iger era, right? We're in Bob Iger Disney 2.0. He actually came back, and it turns out a change in leadership didn't fix this problem. Apparently, according to the lawsuit, Disney are still lying to their investors about how much money they are making or losing with Disney Plus itself. And we do know they've been shouting from the mountaintops for a few years now that Disney Plus would be profitable by 2024. That's always been the big goal, and it sounds like that might not be quite as attainable as they would like us to believe. Interestingly, there have been at least 2 previous lawsuits with similar claims about Disney and its streaming service, driven by gaining more subscribers rather than immediate profits. Transferring streaming expenses and losses during Chapek's tenure eventually became a significant factor in the events that led to former CFO Christine McCarthy's November 2022 coup. This decision, led by the former CFO, who has since departed from the company, resulted in Chapek being removed from his position in an unexpected move by the board. Iger then returned to assume his previous role as the highest ranking figure at Disney, overseeing streaming and other aspects of the company. So there we start getting some of the details of what they're actually claiming is happening. That Disney Plus streaming service is actually incurring a lot more financial losses than Disney want to publicly admit to their investors, because Disney Plus, remember, is the future of the company. Everything is riding on Disney Plus. So they're taking some of the losses incurred by Disney Plus and putting them somewhere else. Maybe they're putting it in parks. Maybe they're putting it under ESPN. Maybe they're putting it under, the movie division and stuff like that. So the investors won't realize just how badly they screwed the pooch with Disney Plus itself. But I think anybody with 2 functioning brain cells can realize that Disney had absolutely no idea what they were doing once they jumped into the streaming game. They've certainly known how to grow subscriber numbers. We know that, but they haven't actually delivered a package of content that most people are happy with, and they're actually losing subscribers now. And a lot of people have said, well, it's not really Disney Plus that's losing the subscribers. They had a deal in India where they had cricket or something like that, and they had like the big league in India, and then they lost that deal and they lost a bunch of subscribers in India. And that's really why they have subscriber loss. And that is true. They certainly had a deal for a big league in India. When they dropped off, they lost a bunch of subscribers in India, but they've also lost subscribers in North America, both the United States and Canada, I believe, over the last 2 fiscal quarters as well. Things aren't going nearly as well as Disney would like their investors to believe, and certainly they don't want us to know just how badly it's going, but you can just see it. Where's the momentum behind Disney Plus right now? They've had a string of unmemorable movies that you would never want to put into movie theaters because they're embarrassing come out as Disney Plus exclusives. Were you excited for Wendy and Peter Pan or whatever the crap that was? Almost none of their new Star Wars content really resonates with fans outside of The Mandalorian, and even numbers on The Mandalorian are going down. We've seen the viewership numbers for Andor. We've seen the viewership numbers for The Bad Batch. We've seen the viewership numbers for Star Wars Visions. We've seen the viewership numbers for Ahsoka, which it appears that Disney retroactively are trying to lie about. Like that 1.2 million number was just a big fabrication by Samba TV, who would have no reason to do that. What would be their motivation to falsely report Disney's viewership numbers? They're not owned by Disney. They're not even a competitor to Disney. The only people that have any motivation to lie in this are Disney itself. And then when you look at the MCU, what's the last thing people were excited about for the MCU on Disney Plus? Loki? Like, how many years ago was that now? Almost all the Disney Plus shows are bombing, and they're always setting a lower and lower bar as far as what their viewership is as well. And you can kind of see Disney Plus, just as far as the new content, where they're driving all this money and likely losing a lot of it, is not drawing in new subscribers. And not only is it not drawing in new subscribers, it's not really satiating the viewing habits of the current subscribers. I have Disney Plus. I have little kids. They don't want to watch any of the new stuff. They want to watch Puppy Dog Pals and Muppet Babies, I guess. What if I put on any of these new like Disney shows, like the MCU shows or the Star Wars shows, or if I try to put on like the Lion King remake, which I actually tried to do one day because I was desperate, they wouldn't watch that. They certainly wouldn't watch Peter Pan and Wendy. Like, the only things worth watching on Disney Plus right now are like 20 years old for the most part. I'm watching Home Improvement on Disney Plus. That's what I'm using it for. Although now there is Justified City Primeval, so I'm watching that now because we do get some FX content on our Disney Plus here in the Philippines as well. But for the most part, an overwhelming majority of Disney Plus subscribers aren't watching any of the new stuff because it all sucks. And that's why they're losing so much money. That's why they've lost all those momentum, and that's why nobody's happy with them anymore. And that's why they're having to lie to everybody. In Disney's latest quarterly financial report, the losses incurred from streaming were reduced to $512 million. The company also surpassed the expectations of Wall Street in terms of revenue and net income. Disney has consistently highlighted its commitment to achieving a profitable streaming outcome by 2024. However, certain analysts and experts in the industry have voiced skepticism. Iger acknowledged the difficulty of the current circumstances, referring to the challenges posed by the ongoing strikes involving writers and actors, which have complicated Disney's effort to rebuild its streaming service. I don't know, man. That last statement's kind of hard to believe. It's probably saving them money at this point. They're not spending money on a bunch of stuff that's going to drive people away. This might be a money saver for them in the long run. And I must say, I'm more in line to believe the analysts and experts in the industry that are skeptical of what Disney is saying. They're being sued multiple times because they're doing that funny math where they're trying to hide where their losses are coming from and just how badly streaming has gone for them. And this, they are claiming it's going to be profitable by 2024. And I imagine they will cook the books if they're allowed to make it look like they're profitable, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't know really how to run a good, solid streaming service. Just the functionality of Disney Plus, just on another rant, I guess, is so much lower and worse than Netflix. It's like, it's not even funny. Just the functionality of Disney Plus itself doesn't even compare to Netflix. Yet they have this amazing library of old stuff that's actually worth your time, but none of the new stuff is worth your time. And Bob Iger should probably stop bitching and moaning about these stupid strikes and start coming up with a new game plan. Let's not flood the market with inferior product left and right attached to all of our most profitable and important franchises. That's basically what Disney has done with Disney Plus. Hell, they even destroyed stuff that wasn't important. Like, how the fuck did you destroy Willow? Like, Willow's cool. Willow was a fun movie. Was never the big hit that George Lucas had hoped it would be, obviously, coming off the end of Star Wars and all that stuff, but there was something cool to do with Willow, and they destroyed that too because they've destroyed everything. Disney is a rotten company, and they're rotten at the core. They have 100% become anti-family, anti-consumer, anti-Disney consumer, I guess is the best way to put it, and people have noticed that, and they're not appreciating what Disney Plus has to offer, and I imagine they're just going to keep losing money year over year as they try to figure this out, but they can't because they don't realize you actually have to make good programs that people want to watch. Otherwise, their subscriber number is just going to remain stagnant. It opens up to new areas, right? So you get more subscribers there, but then you lose more subscribers in the US and Canada and India, where Disney Plus has been available for a while, and people realize, like, yeah, I like the old catalog, but everything new there absolutely sucks. Disney is screwed, and they're screwed because of their own leadership, their own corporate culture. I talked about this. They've had to do mass cancellations. They've done mass firings. They've done mass everything to cut costs and stop hemorrhaging money left and right. I talked about it. I broke it all down right here. It's absolutely insane what has happened to what was once a great American entertainment company. There's also a link in the video description.